For those of you who are in the know, which I think most of the world is, at least our listeners, it is Pride Month. And, well, we didn't exactly pick anything on our to-do list for this month that's related to the month in hand. So we decided that before each episode, we'd pick a category of person, and who's a member of the LGBT community, and we just briefly touch upon them and say, yeah, this is this person, this is why we decided to speak about them, say hello. I do the bad job of explaining that, but you'll get what I mean when we get into it. So, yes, this week's category is deceased members of the LGBT community. A bit of a grim subject, but I think there's more members who are deceased than are alive. So, yeah. Rick, would you like to go first?
Yeah, the one that I picked was one Freddie Mercury, one Farouk Bulsara. And the reason that I picked him is not only was he, a huge influence on my musical taste when I was growing up, there was always Queen playing when I was in my car seat as a baby. There is also something that's gone on this week about him and his works and his life, which is going to come up very shortly. But so how about you? Who is your person on the rainbow that you've picked as a deceased member of the community?
Mine's a bit more recently deceased, and in fact, I didn't know they were gay until you told me.
Okay.
That was one Kevin Conroy.
Ah, yes. How he said that him putting on the Batman voice and stepping into the role was like coming out the closet before he was able to come out the closet.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I picked Kevin Conroy for two reasons. One, Kevin Conroy was my Batman. I think I said that during the week of his passing, so it was quite a blow, shall we say. And the other reason is I think Kevin Conroy is a prime example of why Pride is important, because if you look at his memoirs and I think was it a book or a show? I think it was a book where it's behind the mask or something along those lines. He had to spend so much of his life hiding who he was.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone should have to do that.
Yeah, the whole point of Pride, be ashamed of, it's to be the opposite of shame, which seems to have been thrust upon the community by external forces.
Pretty much, man. Pride is, I don't know, I feel like it should be a symbol of, this is how far we've come in that, yes, you can just be gay, you can just be bi, you can just be lesbian, you can just be trans, without feeling as if your life will be impacted by letting people know that part of yourself.
Yeah. I feel it's really a belonging month.
Yeah. Not much more to say than that. We don't mean to get sappy and serious on the podcast, but, some things warrant it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is one more for us on the cards. As we mentioned before, it is Pride Month, and what we're doing for Pride Month is we are briefly touching upon and highlighting certain members of the community, in this case characters from the community, just because, it's Pride Month, it deserves a spotlight. Last week we did members of the community who are deceased, which was a pretty morbid one to start with, but I felt like a powerful one. This week we're being a bit more light-hearted. We're doing... How did we word this one, Rick?
We're doing fictional characters.
Right, yeah, there we go. We're doing fictional characters. So, Rick, I'll ask you first, as that seems to be the way. What fictional character who is on the LGBT rainbow do you wish to bring attention to?
I'm bringing attention to one Rain Whispers.
Yeah!
Simply because they are, possibly, from my experience, one of the first completely non-binary people to be front and center in a show like this. And this is not just shows up in one episode and then goes away. Rain becomes essentially a secondary character as soon as they're introduced.
Yeah, because that's one of the things with Double Trouble, who's the only other character I can think of who's non-binary, which is the nature of a shapeshifter, because they're a big part of season 4, but then season 5 they show up for 2 episodes and then fuck off.
Yes. Yeah, Rain becomes basically part of the main council of good guys.
Yeah.
The Bats.
Okay.
The Bats and the Cats.
I'm with Darius on that one. I'm not a big fan of the of the abbreviations.
But yeah, it was great seeing Rain at different parts of their lifetime. I really liked the flashback episode with young Rain and young Ida, and I wasn't expecting Ida's ex to grow on me so much.
Yeah, but because they're not really Ida's ex, are they? Because the flame of their relationship never dwindles or is at risk of dying. It's just the nature of the Owl Beast and Ida being secretive with it just meant the relationship was strained, and as soon as they had a chance, they reconciled.
Yeah, just rekindle the embers that never went out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rain Whispers for me all day of the week. How about you? Who is your fictional character pick of the rainbow?
Yeah, it was actually a bit of a struggle because a lot of cartoons recently, and let's be honest, it's going to be from a cartoon. I like cartoons, have been surprisingly LGBT inclusive. So with that in mind, I'm also going to pick one we did for the channel, and I'm picking Barney from Paranormal Park.
Ah, yeah.
Mostly because, I've got to be honest with you, I'm ignorant as fuck when it comes to transgender issues. I really am. I try to be as careful as I can, as inclusive as I can, but it really helps when you have a show that is from the perspective. Is that the right word?
Well, when the protagonist is basically your window into a part of the culture, yeah. So
perspective is the right word. That's all I'm asking.
yeah, kind of from the perspective, but also yeah.
Having a character who is part of that community and tackles those issues, being the point of view character for a show, is incredibly eye-opening, shall we say? Like you're kind of vaguely aware of certain issues and challenges characters like this, or rather people like this, would face, and it tackles them in, I wouldn't even say a light-hearted manner. It's just the show is light-hearted, but the issues that it tackles are rather heavy. Specifically, the example they use is the grandmother of Barney can't really get over that hurdle, while his parents may not be the most accepting, but they can get over it, you know?
Yeah, I think the quote that stuck with me was the parent asking Barney, "Why don't you come home?" And Barney goes, "I can't until you really make it one."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not the immediate it's not the immediate family of mother, father, and little brother that are the issue. It's the grandma and the fact that nobody sticks up for him.
Yeah.
But also another point is that I can count on one finger, and it's Barney, the number of transmasculine characters that I can just call to mind.
Yeah, I can't really think of any off the top of my head, and I even struggle thinking of trans femme characters apart from Poison from video games, but that one's a bit iffy because it's clearly something that just got tacked on.
Yeah, they didn't want to hit a female character, so they made Poison trans femme.
Yeah, it's a very fucking weird decision.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I hate pandering with a passion. I hate when characters
You also hate pandas.
Well, yeah, but that's neither here nor there. But, you know, it's awful when you encounter a character in a show who has been put in the show, or any form of media, just to tick a box and get an audience, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I feel like the two characters we've brought up in particular are pretty good examples of, like, yes, they are part of the rainbow, but they're not there to, you know, give us your money, gays.
Yeah, it's part of their character, not their entire character.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. Shining a bit of a spotlight on the rainbow. This week, our chosen category is creators, so take it away, Rick.
I'm going to start. I had a honourable mention because I was sure he was on the rainbow somewhere, but I couldn't find enough details one way or the other, and it was one Hamish Steele. Because I couldn't find enough details, I've had to fall back on one Indy Stevenson. That's Nate Diana Stevenson, one of... we've spoken about him before. He's the creator of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. He's going to come into our circle of influence once again come next month when Nimona is out.
Rather annoyingly, it comes out on the very last day of June, which is a recording day for us at least, but...
Yeah.
It means when we actually review it, it won't be Pride anymore. But hey-ho diddly-do. Fun fact, while I was doing a bit of research, Rick, because I too was going to nominate N.D. Stevenson, Mona's actually been around since 2015, and this is just a film adaptation of said comic.
Yeah. Speaking of comics, he also wrote Lumberjanes, which was published by Boom Studios, which are the studio that make the current Power Rangers comics.
Fair dues.
Which I thought was pretty neat.
Absolutely.
And also appeared in Critical Role if you're a fan of that. But yeah, that's my pick of the rainbow. Who is yours?
Yes, again, peeling back the curtain, before we started today, I told Rick, just say whoever you want, because I suspect we're going to say the same person, and we were going to.
Yes.
So my pick instead goes to Rebecca Sugar.
Yes. Also a good pick.
Absolutely. According to Wikipedia, because that's as far as I'm going to dive because I'm not creepy, they are a non-binary bisexual, which is firmly in rainbow territory. They are currently married to their spouse, who they've apparently been in a relationship for 8 years, but have only been married for 4. So yeah, for those of you who don't know who Rebecca Sugar is, they created Steven Universe, and before that they worked as a background artist, I want to say, on Adventure Time.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So yeah, apparently Marceline the Vampire Queen was influenced heavily by Rebecca Sugar, so you know, that's cool. If that wasn't cool enough, again, she created Steven Universe, which is the subject of our non-stop review every Wednesday. Haha, plug. And yeah, I think we picked 2 pretty solid representatives of the rainbow there, Rick.
Yeah, we did.
That means we need to address our final nod at the rainbow, so to speak. So this week's category is, of course, living influential person. So part of the LGBTQ community. That basically doesn't fit into any of the other categories. So, Rick, who are you going to give a nod to?
I had a bunch of people that I was considering, but after everyone, I swerved massively and picked one Cassandra Peterson.
I don't know who this is, Rick.
Have you heard of Elvira Elvira, Mistress of the Dark?
Evilra, maybe? I don't know.
Okay, you might have heard of a parody version of Elvira called Evilra. But yes, the idea is that on screen, she was the gothiest goth, tongue-in-cheek sex pot that there ever was. And off-screen, she had a wife, and it was only relatively recently that she was able to come out. She divorced from her husband in 2003, but she's been living with her partner, well, since 2002, but also been with her for far longer. The reason she didn't come out earlier was because it was cool to be gay at the time, and she didn't want to cheapen it by coming out back then.
I kind of get it, but it's such a weird flux of ideologies, because it really if you look at the history of I don't really know how to word this, but the LGBT community and how they've been treated by society, it's a real flip-flop, especially in show business, on whether it's okay to be gay, you know? You could literally point to years where, I'm pulling numbers out my ass because I haven't got specifics, but 1971, everybody came out as gay because it was the hip popular thing. 1972, no one could talk about it, they will commit career suicide.
Absolutely. And in a similar vein to Dolly Parton, although without quite as much surgery, she is an incredibly good-looking woman for her age. She's 71.
Fair enough, man. I think I know who you're talking about, but I've almost definitely only ever seen parodies of her. The specific one I'm thinking of is The Simpsons with
Boovarella.
Yeah.
Burns has a heart as big as my boobs. But as Elvira, she had the Southern Belle accent and talked like a bimbo and everything, and that was part of the juxtaposition of looking like a goth and talking like a country girl.
Rick, you and I are both suckers for the Southern Belle accent, right?
But yeah, my pick of the rainbow, Cassandra Peterson. How about you? Who is your pick of the rainbow?
My pick of the rainbow is very obviously going to be Stephen Fry.
Yeah, when we were picking these categories, I basically called this the Stephen Fry category until we tried to define it around Stephen Fry without calling it just the Stephen Fry category.
I don't remember this conversation, but I still think Stephen Fry deserves the nod regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Weeble song puts it, Stephen Fry, national treasure.
I don't remember. Oh, I think that is something we discussed at one point off the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got into like a 5-minute, 10-minute chat about fucking Magical Trevor, because that's how our minds work.
Well, the same Weeble.
But yeah, why do I want to give a nod to Stephen Fry? Well, he's just a nice guy. I don't know what else you want from me. Like, you could give this award to any number of people who I'd put in like the same caliber as Stephen Fry, in that just a nice guy who happens to be gay, like Graham Norton, etc. Like, they all just seem like pleasant people, you know?
Yes, Stephen Fry is possibly the most influential of them.
For those of you who don't know who Stephen Fry is, he was part of Fry and Laurie. He's a very good comedy guy. Rather intelligent, let's not beat around the bush on that front.
Oh, incredibly.
He can debate, he can be funny, and he was the host of QI for about 13 years.
Yes. He made it exactly halfway through the alphabet, saying that was always his intention, and then handed the torch over to Sandy.
Yeah, which is another person who could equally earn this mention. Let's not beat around the bush, which I will say often.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, Stephen Fry basically jumped on Twitter when Twitter first became a thing and made it his bitch. He knows how to use Twitter like a goddamn genius. I don't know how he's quite navigating the flat platform these days, but you can't exactly compare the Elon Twitter to the Twitter of yesteryear.
Yeah, exactly. I think he left Twitter quite a while ago.
That's fair. I just remember that he was quite savvy with it when it first came out. I believe he had a bitching match with either Ricky Gervais or Piers Morgan and ended it with, talk to you later, darling.
Both sound in character.
Exactly. He knows when to be serious, and he knows when he can interject a bit of tongue-in-cheek.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, that does it for our Rainbow Spotlight.